Mongoose in a man purse.
My fellow Americans, have you ever found yourself in a situation where defending yourself with bees just isn't enough? When your attacker busts out his snake to counteract your bees, you're gonna need something stronger. That's why I've invented a man purse for your mongoose. Mongooses are the natural predator to a snake. If there's one thing I'm an expert on, it's being aware of which animals hunt which other animals. Mongoose are immune to cobra venom and are naturally peaceful, so you can count on them not picking a fight, but you can also count on them winning a fight. This makes them the ideal pet for self-defense. If you find that bees just aren't enough, reach into your man purse and whip out your mongoose. Be sure to give your mongoose a mean-sounding name like Philip, Johnson, or even Doug. With every purchase of a mongoose comes a Slick Willie guarantee. There are other products out there, but this one doesn't come with snake oil.
To get your own personal mongoose, call 1-800-MONGOOSEINAMANPURSE. Operators are standing by.
Mongoose in a man purse.
You know what time it is. Buckle up and enjoy the ride.
And we are live. Greetings to our loyal WFYL listeners around the world. Welcome back to your Philadelphia live stream, only on the Freedom Station. I want to thank each and every one of you for tuning in once again, because you still have the right to hear and the right to be heard. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mike G. As always, with me are Philly Chris, Russ the producer, and Liberty Lee. And you're listening to Mike G in the morning with The Law Matters. And you can listen to our program every Friday at 7 a.m. Eastern, only on the Freedom Station, WFYL. So let's be heard. I want to remind our listeners that you can participate in the free and open exchange of thoughts and ideas throughout the entire week by visiting MikeGinthemorning.com. What's it called, Philly Chris?
MikeGinthemorning.com.
How about you, Russ?
MikeGinthemorning.com.
Liberty?
MikeGinthemorning.com.
Special guest once again, the man, the myth, the legend, Rick Vasquez. What's it called?
MikeGinthemorning.com.
That is correct, sir. So tell your friends, tell your family, tell your barber, tell your Uncle Jerry, tell anybody who listen to check us out at MikeGinthemorning.com. I also want to remind our listeners about the powerhouse lineup we've got here at the Freedom Station. Kick off your mornings with Scott Adams, bringing you the Scott Adams Show weekdays from 9 a.m. until 11. We've got Dan the Man Bongino, bringing you the Dan Bongino Show weekdays from noon until 3 p.m. We've got the headliner, intellectual giant Ben Shapiro, bringing you the Ben Shapiro Show weekdays from 3 to 5 p.m. And finally, we love having him at the Freedom Station family. We've got Michael Knowles, bringing you the Michael Knowles Show weekdays from 5 to 6 p.m. So don't forget to tune in and show him some love. And with that, you know what time it is. Buckle up and enjoy the ride. Hit it, Russ.
You know what time it is. Buckle up and enjoy the ride.
We've got something very special for the Mike G in the Morning family this week. We're going to be doing a 3-part series dissecting the PowerPoint in which the ATF intends to instruct everybody on how they're making 40 million gun owners felons and how you can stop it and not be a part of becoming an accidental criminal. We've got our special guest with us, Rick Vasquez of Rick Vasquez Firearms, LLC. He spent over 2 decades in the United States Marine Corps. He's got over 45 years of experience in the firearms field. He was with the ATF as an enforcement officer in the firearms technology branch. He's got a wealth of knowledge. He's known all over the world. Rick Vasquez, thanks for joining us once again.
Thanks for having me on. I'm excited about this.
This was a great idea. And I have to give credit to Rick. This was his idea. He said, there is so much nonsense going out there on the internet. People don't know what to believe. They're getting bad information out there, and they're going to get themselves in trouble. So why don't we go ahead and we take a look at this PowerPoint that ATF has put out and dissect it and really get to the heart of the matter and put it in a format that people can truly understand. Now, Rick and I have been toying with putting out formal trainings in the near future about this stuff. But right now, we want to sort of give everybody an overview and give just a little bit of a taste as to what you need to know to stay out of jail. So we want to talk about this stuff. We got so many questions, Rick, last week after our discussion. People who sort of didn't know where to start with some of this stuff. They heard some of what we were discussing, and they had some basic fundamental questions. They didn't know how we got to that part of the conversation. Do you find that there are people who are very confused about what's going on right now?
I do. And I think a lot of it is ATF has rushed to get these documents out. And then you have so many people following these documents and any type of case that pops up, and they go on YouTube immediately. I mean, they don't even have enough time to digest it, but they're on YouTube telling people what it means. And the majority of what they're saying is correct, but there's little parts and pieces that they're leaving out. And the public is not going to understand. I won't say the public, the gun owners are not going to understand this. They don't know how they got here either.
Yeah, so it's that much more important that we actually go through this stuff and really dissect it in a way that it's digestible for people, that they understand what we're talking about, and almost go slide by slide as to what they're telling people they need to know, and adding some things that perhaps the ATF has missed when they put this stuff out there that people ought to be aware of. So I want to start with some of the basic fundamentals, because in order to understand why an AR pistol with a brace could be into putting you into that felon category so easily, I think people need to understand what an AR pistol is to begin with. So do you want to briefly just explain to our audience members what an AR pistol is?
Well, Mike, I think this would be a good time to kind of get in depth to explain pistols, the importation of pistols, and 922R and 478, which is not even covered in here.
Okay.
So if I go a little bit too long and you need to cut me off, go somewhere, please do so.
That's perfectly fine. I presume that if you want to get into 922R, you want Russell to pull up that document that you sent over. Is that correct?
Yes. When we get to that, we'll definitely bring it up.
Okay. Sounds good.
But first of all, let's talk about a pistol, AR-15, AK, these big rifle caliber handguns. They weren't very popular early on, but when all these different assault weapon bans came out, and then they got they disappeared when the sunset, the people started realizing, well, shoot, I can have an AR-15 pistol, and a lot of the restrictions do not apply to handguns. So, and the other part that is so important to understand is when you look at importing firearms, the sporting purpose criteria doesn't apply to handguns. The factoring criteria applies to handguns, which is really getting into the weeds. And they tried to create a factoring criteria for this situation, but it didn't work. So large caliber handguns became very popular. People use them to shoot, carry in their vehicle. I keep one in my car majority of the time when I'm traveling, because if I'm going to get into a fight with a 9mm, I'd much rather have a 223 caliber handgun. So they become extremely popular. So now we got into what is an arm brace, and we're going to cover that more. But that was very important, what changed the way pistols were looked at. Because once you put what is a stock onto a handgun, which the AR and the AK are perfectly equipped to accept the stock, it becomes a short barrel rifle. Now, the arm brace was not regulated as a stock, so people were buying these and putting them on their firearms, and it was considered a non-NFA firearm. So how And why is 922R so important to this issue? And at this time, if you could put that document up, Philly, and I'll get right into it. Well, when a firearm is imported into the United States, a handgun has a factoring criteria, and it has to get 75 points on this. Well, if a Glock 17 will pass with 75 points, because weight and caliber are a factor, how easy do you think the AK type pistols will pass? They end up with 200 and something points. So now we start having the AK pistols, the PPSH pistols, the any type of pistol that was made into a rifle. They started being made overseas as handguns, so they could be imported into the United States. So there's three statutes and regulations on this document. And 925D3 provides that the Attorney General shall authorize a firearm to be imported if it meets several conditions. If it is not defined as a firearm under the NFA, if it is generally recognized or particularly suitable for readily adaptable sporting purposes, and is not a surplus military firearm. Well, handguns, the sporting purpose criteria, once again, is the factoring criteria. For rifles, anything that accepts more than a 10-round magazine, and this is not in writing, there is nothing in the statutes or the regulation that says this. It was strictly an ATF council opinion that if a firearm or rifle accepts more than 10 rounds, and if a shotgun accepts more than 5 rounds, it is an evil firearm, and it cannot be imported into the United States. So that's how those Segas and the Wassers started coming to the United States. They had the little tiny 10-round opening. Well, when they passed 922R to restrict firearms being made in the United States from imported parts kits, they realized that they created a nightmare, because at the time, Colt was bringing parts in from Canada. So all of a sudden, Colt couldn't assemble their AR-15 or the M16s, especially the M16s for the government, because they were using foreign-made parts. And in 922R states it shall be unlawful for any person to assemble from imported parts any semi-automatic rifle or any shotgun which is identical to any rifle or shotgun prohibited from importation under Section 925D3 of this chapter as not being particularly suitable or readily adoptable for sporting purposes. So what the hell does that mean? ATF council made it easy. If it accepts a over 10 round magazine, it's non-sporting. So that's when all of these firearms started being made, the Mahdi, to come in with 10 round magazines. So ATF realized there's a huge mistake was made. 922R says any imported parts. Okay, well, Colt can't make their firearms. Nobody can make their firearms. They're buying springs, pins, screws from overseas. So then 478.39 was implemented into the regulations. And that's where you come into that 20 part count. So Ed Owen, who the gentleman that hired me, had been with ATF, I think 375 years. He was extremely antiquated, but a really crusty guy. And when this issue came up, Ed came up with these 20 parts, and it benefited the industry and ATF. So these are the 20 parts that you look at on a firearm. And then if you can eliminate 10 or more, then you can build that non-importable firearm in the United States. So why is that so important to this arm brace issue? Because if you put a stock on a pistol, you create a rifle that is non-importable. So now that this arm brace has become a stock, you are now in possession of if it's an imported firearm, and many of these are, other than the AR-15s, many of these firearms, and we can go on and on, the H&K, the SIG, the SAR, all of these guns are imported. So the moment I put that stock, or it's on my gun right now, so in reality, they're in violation, because that stock has now created a firearm that's in against 922R, and that's a 10-year felony. So if you're going to register that firearm, you're going to have to apply the parts count from 478.39 and ensure that you have no more than 10 imported parts in that firearm. And when we did the count on the AK, as I recall, the AK had like 17 parts. So they would replace 7 of those parts with American-made parts, and they were getting made in the United States specifically for this issue. Triggers, hammers, disconnectors, stocks. TAPCO even sold a 922R kit for AKs. You just bought the kit, change the parts, and then you could open that magazine well to a high-capacity magazine. So that's before we ever got started. This is important for the people that have these firearms to understand this. So was that kind of clear to you guys, or clear as mud?
None of it's clear.
I am so glad you said that, Phil. I've been doing this for a long time, and it isn't clear. And these poor ladies and guys who have these firearms have to contend with stuff that's written for technicians and experts to understand. When you look at this PowerPoint as we go through it, I'm just a guy that puts a brace on my gun, and all of a sudden I can see somebody said, "Make it stop," and all of a sudden I'm in a world of poo-poo because I've got a short barrel rifle, I've got a rifle that's in violation of 922R, I got a rifle that's non-importable for 925D3, and I'm supposed to register to tell NFA that I have this. So what am I sitting here? I'm sitting on pins and needles at my chair saying, do I just get rid of this arm brace and destroy it? Or do I 922R my firearm? Or I just register it and take the chance that nobody's going to come ask me and see if I have too many foreign made parts in it. So that's where the individual is sitting when it comes to the decision to make to register his firearm or not.
But here's the problem, is that a lot of people aren't thinking about this. And as you mentioned, the ATF didn't mention this part about it. I don't know if it was an oversight or a trap. And ultimately, you're going to have people who make their decision without realizing this, aren't you?
Well, that's a really good point. You said that. If it didn't concern them, they should have put it in their presentation or in one of the documents that says 922R will not apply in this situation, because this is a chargeable offense and ATF does charge it. And I've been on criminal cases where this offense was charged. Now, generally, these are traffickers who are buying receivers and parts kits and putting guns together and selling them right into the hands of criminals. But the fact of the matter is, when they decide to prosecute you, is it a violation? Absolutely, it's a violation. Could they just take your gun away? Yes, they could. Or, depending on the U.S. attorney, they could go forward to make a name for themselves because it's an easy prosecution. Did you violate 922R? Yes, I did. It's pretty simple. It's not a maybe, it's a yes or no.
Right.
So it should have been captured in these documents.
Now, when we go back to the term pistol, could we talk a little bit about that in and of itself? Because I think a lot of people, you say pistol, you say rifle, and they've got an idea in their head of what that looks like, but they're not really in tune with the definitions that you get from either 921 or the Code of Federal Regulations that the ATF's going off of when they make these decisions. Now, whether or not their decisions are in line with what's even written in those is a different matter. But we've got to have some kind of foundation in order to get any further in the conversation, don't we?
Under 47811, where all the definitions are, and I'll paraphrase, the definition of a pistol at one time was a firearm designed to be fired with one hand with a grip perpendicular to the bore and a chamber or cylinder in line with the breech. And I'm paraphrasing without reading off the top of my head.
Right.
And it had, of course, a rifle bore. So think of something that you could pick up and hold with one hand. Now, because you asked me that question, I have to throw something else in. Mm-hmm. There is no minimum length for firearms in the United States. There's a minimum length for barrels and overall length for imported firearms of the factory criteria. And in 1968, when this was developed, they say it was to keep Saturday night specials out of the hands of the criminals. but it was more a protectionist law because they were still making Saturday, especially in the United States. But all of these foreign guns couldn't be imported anymore. These little junk guns, Herbert Smiths and Y-Rocks and Spanish guns, they couldn't be imported anymore. So it was more a protectionist law. So now we have a definition of a handgun, but there's no maximum barrel length. So ATF has struggled with this because you've seen some of these firearms that have been imported in the United States, the 416 that was imported as a handgun when a gentleman went over there under my coaching and bought 416 receivers from H&K, 416 components from H&K, took them into Switzerland and had them made, that imported them as handguns. And the 416 rifle in the United States is just like a 6-ounce gold nugget. Everybody wants one, but you can't get it. But he was able to bring that handgun in because it was designed to be fired with one hand and it had a 10-inch barrel. On the other hand, there's been some Swiss Arms firearms that have come into the United States with 16-inch or longer barrels for the perfect reason that once they get into the United States, they will 922R them and put a stock on them, and now they have legal, extremely collectible rifles. So a pistol, the definition hasn't changed until we look at the definition of rifle in this PowerPoint. The definition of pistol has not changed since 1968. What has changed is letter opinions from ATF and our importers being very swift in the mind and figuring out ways around some of these regulations.
Now, it's interesting that when they talk about the definition of pistols, has to do with one hand, right? Now, you were in the military and you were an officer. How many people often fire your generic handgun, your sidearm, with one hand?
You know, when we did a declaration when the NPRM first came out, that's one of the things that I address, and I address it quite in length. When I was with ATF, I used to argue this all the time because if I put a vertical foregrip on a pistol, according to ATF, I've redesigned this into an AOW and any other weapon, and that does not fit into the definition anywhere. I looked at this historically, went back as when I was the chief of the Firearms Technology Branch, as far as I could, to try to find where that language came from. And I was the best I could do, and I won't mention his name because it's kind of a negative. One of the assistant branch chiefs just arbitrarily came up with that and said, well, the definition says it's designed to be fired with one hand. Well, I argued that point because in 1968, how did everybody shoot in the police department and military? The straight out isosceles, one-handed.
Really?
Everybody shot that way. Since the modern era of Cooper and Rogers started changing the way people got into combat situations, everybody shot like this. One-handed draw and fire with revolvers, and they were extremely good shots. That's one thing they had over the modern day person. They had 6 rounds, and they had a very high kill rate because they were extremely good shots. So the definition, in my opinion, and I've read all the minutes of the Gun Control Act to try to find any language in there. So the definition of a handgun to be fired with one hand, that's the way people fired it. That's the way it was designed, one single grip. So now we get into the modern era where people start shooting with 2 hands. And because I can shoot with 2 hands, I don't need a vertical grip. Do I, every time I shoot it, create a firearm that's an AOW?
Right.
Am I now in violation of the law? And because my hand makes it an AOW, my left hand comes up under there, that's a vertical grip. I just created a living, breathing vertical grip. So I should be charged when I'm shooting with possession of an AOW and go to jail. Got to be going
Don't
to jail.
give him any ideas, Rick.
When I'm shooting actively. And so that's how this evolution changed. There's nothing in the regulations, nothing in the statutes. The way I understand it, once again, by doing historical research, not just by saying, hey, what do I think today? I'm in charge, so I can make an opinion. And I fought this and tried to tell people this is an erroneous opinion. So it doesn't end there. Remember, they said a vertical pistol grip. We are in the United States, and our citizens are more intelligent than we generally give them credit for. So people write in and say, how about if I put it at a 90-degree angle? I'm sorry, I'm an 85-degree angle or a 60-degree angle. In your letters and in your opinions, you said a vertical 90-degree angle. So once again, there was a turmoil, and the Firearms Technology brand said, okay, if it's basically, they use language like if it doesn't look vertical, like an 85 or longer grip, it wasn't a vertical pistol grip and it wouldn't be an AOW. Well, of course, that couldn't stand. So ATF has come out and said, any grip that protrudes from your firearm that you can put your hand around it it makes it an AOW. So of course, our Americans are smart. So now they created the hand stop. We're all familiar with hand stops now.
Right.
Now it's not shaped like a baseball bat end where you can grip it. You can put your thumb against it, put your palm against it, and it satisfies the same purpose. So that's where the vertical pistol grip came in. That's where we're at today.
And that's excellent information. Where I was going with that is a lot of people look at AR pistols and they'll say, well, surely, you're not supposed to fire that with one hand. And saying just based on their sight test, they say that's not supposed to be fired with one hand. You probably use two hands to fire that. But at the end of the day, like you mentioned, today, we're firing all of them with two hands.
Absolutely. And the heavier they are, and I brought that up. Look at these heavy revolvers that were here in the turn of the century. I mean, it got to the point where most people shot them with two hands. And then when the Mac and the Tech 9s and those things in the 70s became popular, then it really became a two-handed grip. So I'm shooting it with two hands. What's the difference of holding it on a vertical grip or holding the front of it? In my opinion, the vertical grip is actually harder to control than just holding the bottom of the pistol. But that's me with my shooting technique. Other people think it's easier to hold it with a vertical grip.
It's interesting how on so many different issues they've gone back and forth, like you're mentioning on this, where because the rules are not clearly defined and they're sort of making it up as they go along. You ever talk to somebody and you get the feeling they have no idea how to answer your question? Instead of just saying, I don't know, they sort of they make a decision and give you an answer like, yeah, I think you could do that. Well, what about this?
You asked the right person that question. Because when I see some of this, I hate to use the term idiocy, but some of these letters that come out, I will write to ATF with the correct answer out of the Firearms Regulation Guide and say, we've just received this response. As I interpret it, this is the way it should be. And for the 90% of the time, I'll force them to change their opinion because I point and that's why I tell all my clients, never write in and ask a question. And that's why we do it for them. I write in with what the answer should be. So if we're not sure of something and we want to get clarification from ATF, we research the answer. And we find it and said, my client wants to make this, and according to Firearms Regulation Guide 5300.4, 921A or 922, whatever, this is what we believe the response should be. That way you save them research time and you point them to the correct answer. But if you just say, hey, is my 90-degree vertical grip illegal? The answer is going to be yes. But if you say you wrote letters that said 90-degree vertical grips are unlawful, what if my grip is 80 degrees it doesn't appear that that should be unlawful. Now you put them in a quandary where they have to look it up and determine who's right and who's wrong.
Fascinating stuff, Rick. For those of us just tuning in, you're listening to Mike G in the Morning with The Law Matters, only on the Freedom Station, WFYL. So I want to just clarify our goal here today. We'll start to make our way through this PowerPoint, Rick. We do have quite a few folks in the comments who seem to be irritated and agitated with the fact that we have to do this in the first place. And I get it. We have people talking about the Constitution and we got Stacks who says all this is unconstitutional semantics. That's why it seems convoluted. You have Scott talking about Congress. Where does ATF get the authority to make law? Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution says in the last paragraph that only Congress can make law. Constitution doesn't say agencies can make law. So people seem to get hung up on that, but I want to clarify that our goal for today is, while these may all be valid points, and these are fights that we need to fight, as of right now, we would like to keep people out of jail in the meantime. Is that a fair goal, Rick?
Yes, that is our goal.
Because you can certainly cheer on our fight from a jail cell. That's one way to do it. We'd like you to cheer on the fight from outside the jail cell. It's just me. So
and we talked about that last time, Mike, and you brought up a good point. Unless you're ready to at least spend overnight in jail, when somebody says give it up, get the receipt, give it up, and then fight it. It's easier to lose $100-something on an arm brace than get a lot of bad habits sitting in jail.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't mind eating bread and water and wearing orange and having a big place to live, then, hey, to each his own.
Yeah.
But for now, I say we figure it out this way. That's all. It's just
Russ looks pretty good in orange.
Russ does look good in orange. It's slimming. So we've got the PowerPoint up, and everybody can see it who's watching. If you're listening over the airwaves, we strongly encourage you to check out this episode. If you go to MikeGinthemorning.com and click on our YouTube channel, you'll be able to see everything that we're looking at on screen. And the first page says factoring criteria for firearms with attached stabilizing braces. Russ, why don't you click over to the next one? So now we've got a little bit of background that they provided over here with respect to how they made their decisions ultimately with these braces. Do we want to just basically briefly talk about what these braces are? Russ, if you click through, there might be a photo of an AR pistol with a brace somewhere in there that we can put up on the screen so people can see what we're talking about.
If you go to page 12, there you go.
Page 12. Okay. So Rick, why don't you talk a little bit about what these braces are?
Well, the one at the bottom is a regular stock.
Mm-hmm.
And the one at the top is a stabilizing brace. Now this stabilizing brace is open in the center, and so it would go, if you can see my arm, it would go around your arm, then the Velcro would come around and tight around your arm. Then of course you'd have to use your other hand, because even with the arm brace, and that's where ATF has kind of got wrapped up into weeds, that the arm brace, the gun is sticking out very far, and it does support your arm very good. I've shot numerous of these firearms. If I'm going to talk about them, I figure I better shoot a bunch of them. And I shot numerous of these firearms and even submitted a handful to ATF on behalf of clients, where we evaluate them and got them approved as arm braces. So the arm brace goes through your arm, it tightens around, that one's adjustable. Now, the issue that ATF, after the fact, approving these after the fact, that said the rear area was so big that it couldn't have been designed for an arm brace. It had to be designed for stock, because that is why the rear area is large, so that you can put it against your shoulder. So that is an AR-15 type pistol. It probably has about a 10-inch barrel, high capacity magazine, which I hate to use that term, but
Yeah.
it has a regular. I should say just a regular magazine.
Just a normal magazine.
Normal magazine that holds 30 rounds or more, and which is what we want. And of course, it has a handguard, and it looks like a short rifle, but that is not a stock. That is a brace.
Right. Now, they also have these other styled braces, like the Blade. Do you want to talk briefly about that? Are you familiar with? I hate
I'm
to
very
even ask.
familiar with the
It's like asking a whale if he knows about water, right?
Go to the next photo with all the backs of the arm braces on.
Okay. There you go.
No, one
no,
more.
no.
There was one that just showed the backs of them. There you go.
go.
Right there. Perfect. The Blade is the fourth from the left.
Fourth one
looks
in.
like a little hatchet.
Yeah.
Sticking down. And the Blade was originally one of the ones that was said, the SB1 for the SB Tactical and the Blade on the initial NPRM were carved out and said they would be approved as arm braces. Well, now none of these are arm braces anymore. Now the Blade just sticks down and it rides on the side of your arm and has a piece of Velcro that attaches to your arm and steadies the firearm in that manner. The other ones are open in the rear, as you can see, and some more so than others, and your arm goes through it, and the Velcro would go around and tighten against your arm. But that's the difference in the Blade.
The Blade provides leverage as well. Even just that piece leaning up against your forearm does make a dramatic difference with something like that.
It absolutely does. I was really surprised when I first looked at it as an evaluation. I looked at it. I said, this thing's not going to do much. But because it's so rigid, it's pretty rigid. It doesn't flex that much. When you tighten it against your arm, it really gets your arm locked in place.
So, Russ, why don't you back up to the second page again so we could talk a little, because they gave a brief overview of how this whole debacle started, where initially they approved and what exactly happened. So these are the bullet points that they provided. This is their version of how it took place. I'm sure if you and I wanted to describe
some
it.
of their version.
Sure.
When the brace first was approved, it was a letter that basically said, this is an arm brace. There was nothing about color, length of pull, opening in the rear. It was an arm brace. And the initial letters said that. So this narrative right here is very inconsistent with an actual letter written by ATF. What ATF is saying in this is they're putting all the blame on the people who bought and used them. They're saying, hey, we based this on a brace that we looked at, and it was when we used by a veteran. Well, why isn't that brace still approved? It's SB1. Why does it have to be resubmitted if that applied with what they're saying in this first page? Because they're now saying pretty much that all braces are stocks. So the initial letters, and I'm gonna go a little bit in depth as this,
Sure.
came out very, very benign. This is an arm brace. This is an arm brace, on and on. And then when they decided, and it was after a few years, that they were trying to make them unlawful, they got into the length of pull. And I think I told you, they took the length of pull from definitions out of the NRA guidebook.
Mm-hmm.
No statute, no regulation, no ATF history. How can we make this unlawful? And in the NRA guidebook, it says the length of pull is generally 13.5 inches to like 15.5 inches for a rifle. So they took that length of pull and applied it to arm braces. And then they went into the rear area seems too big. You could probably use it as a stock and different things like that. So this is very inconsistent with the letters that they wrote.
Right. So they came out and they're admitting here that they try to include these caveats based on the information provided. We inspected this brace and we came to the conclusion that it didn't result in a firearm that was designed or intended to be fired from the shoulder. Now, if we go a little bit further, and with good reason, they said that it didn't result in a firearm that was intended to be fired from the shoulder, because it wasn't, right? If you're looking at those words for what they mean, that is a true statement, isn't it, Rick?
That is correct. That's what it was submitted for. It was not designed to be and intended to be fired from the shoulder. It was designed and intended to support a weak arm.
Russ, if you pop over just a little bit, and people might be asking, well, what's the difference? Why are you talking about being fired from the shoulder? Pop over again to one more. Keep going, because I want to, there we go. So the definition of a rifle. So because we keep talking about being fired from the shoulder, and people might wonder, well, what does that have to do with anything? So you want to take that, Rick?
Yeah, so this is a complete definition of a firearm before it was changed. Designed or redesigned, made or remade, and intended to be fired from the shoulder shall include a weapon that is equipped with an accessory. This is the new portion, component or other rearward attachment, e.g., a stabilizing brace that provides surface area that allows the weapon to be fired from the shoulder, provided other factors as described in paragraph 2 indicate that the weapon design made and intended to be fired from the shoulder. So they added the features of an arm brace. They didn't call it a stock. They just called it a rearward attachment. So that leaves them open to anything attached to a buffer tube in the future could be called a stock.
Sure. Now, with the buffer tube itself, there was some discussion about, and we'll get into the different factors. I think that'll have to be the next episode where we get into the nitty gritty of the factors, because there's a lot to discuss. There are a lot of factors, and some of them are a little subjective and arbitrary, if you ask me. I don't know if you disagree, Rick.
Well, no, the good thing is, Mike, we talked about this and we determined to clarify 922R and everything before we got into this, because you can't understand what we're discussing if you don't understand some of the preparatory regulations.
Right, exactly. But with the buffer tube, just to add, without getting too far into it, there was discussion about necessary for the function of the firearm, then that will not qualify. Am I correct in saying that?
Well, the buffer tube is necessary, so that's why on the AR-15 it's allowed to be counted as the overall length, because the buffer tube. What people started doing was adding extensions to AKs, and originally ATF didn't catch it, didn't notice it, but they came back later and said putting an extension to an AK handgun was not a normal piece of the length.
Right.
So then they even came out with, well, if you weld it in place, it could be no longer than 1.5 inches. Once they go down a bad path, they always start creating more issues because they don't know how to get out of that hole. And that's the issue with the arm brace. After they approved it, they didn't like it, so they kept digging all these different holes to try to get out of it, and that's where we're at today.
Gotcha. So, Russ, let's back this up just a few pages. So now that we understand that with rifle, the basic definition, as you said, as it always has been, intended to be fired, designed intended to be fired from the shoulder, is a major factor. Although they've added that if you've got one of these things and these other features, then in our opinion, it's made, designed, intended to be fired from the shoulder. Because they say so. That's that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
So the ultimate, back it up just a little bit, Russ, again. Back it up one more. So with these changes, I think we discussed that enough so far. They've completely reversed course. And what they told people was perfectly fine in writing, they're now saying is no longer fine. Had they ever admitted explicitly, hey, we got it wrong? Have you seen anything like that? We were totally wrong, silly us.
They don't get things wrong, I thought.
Once they decided to go after it, I don't know if you recall the Kellen Wright case where I testified as an expert against the government. And to get that firearm to make it a short barrel rifle, they couldn't get the 13.5-inch length of pull. So they measured it at a severe angle, put it into a report with a picture. So, and I testified against ATF in that trial, and we won the case. The juries, they didn't even deliberate 15 minutes. And when they polled the jury said, we knew the government was wrong the minute they opened up their mouth and introduced a case. So they have tried already to use this information before the rule change even was written.
And so now they're just trying. Unfortunately, what happens when you put out a rule change like this, though, is you're going to have a legitimate impact on people, right? It's not just picking out one or two people and trying to do something about it or affecting one or two people. There are going to be a lot of people who are going to be impacted by this and going to make changes based on this if it's not litigated in time.
Well, the bad thing about this is this really has had no effect on criminals whatsoever.
Sure.
I think there's been like a handful of these used, and I literally mean a handful, like 5, used in crimes. So there's been no impact on this. God, if you're going to use an AR-15, are you going to, let me buy my AR-15 and let me go buy an arm brace so that I can, convert it into a stock and use it to rob something? How am I buying an AR-15 that's got a stock?
Right.
It just doesn't make any sense.
It's all ludicrous. Yeah.
The way they changed this rule, and like you said, the rule has major impacts on the industry and on the individuals themselves.
And if they really thought that it was such a major problem, the individual who is going to do something, you said, buy an AR with stock, or the person who's going to commit the crime would just put a legitimate stock on the pistol in the first place and make an SBR, because there's no dispute that that's making an SBR. It never has been a dispute that that's making an SBR, right?
Why am I going to spend all this extra money if I'm a criminal to buy an arm brace so that I can go rob something or shoot somebody up?
Yeah, crazy. Plus, how many people are going to, how many people are going to be turned into accidental criminals because they just were not really paying attention to what's going on, or they didn't fully realize or understand what they own? I mean, a lot of people could potentially get in trouble because of all this. I don't know. It's just ridiculous. It's so frustrating. And it's very interesting listening to you guys talk about this, but it's all crazy because it's just all ridiculous and unconstitutional. All of it, right?
Phil, you think it sounds crazy to you. We understand it. And when we understand it, it sounds even crazier.
Right? It's just nuts. It's like, where are we living? I'm not sure we're still in the United States anymore. Yeah.
Russ, why don't you pop over to the next one real quick? So this is important, right? I didn't get to check today. I think I checked the night before last.
It is not out there yet.
It is not published yet. Okay. So ultimately, you have 120 days after the effective date to comply. Now, but people have to understand that this is what they're saying, right?
Correct.
They're saying you have 120 days to comply. However, they're also saying that all these people are in possession of an unregistered NFA item. So in reality, if they wanted to prosecute anybody today or yesterday, there is nothing stopping them based on their opinion. That is just we pinky swear we won't prosecute, right?
Well, in their 293-page dissertation, they specifically said, once the rule is signed, we can take law enforcement action, but we don't intend to till at least 60 days after the rule is signed. So they put a veiled threat out there.
It's very kind of them to because we're such nice guys.
Yeah, right.
We're going to give you an extra 120 days. But even them saying that they can prosecute the minute it's signed, maybe, functionally they can prosecute the minute it's signed, but there's nothing stopping them from prosecuting before it's signed or anytime if they're saying, we've got this argument that this is an NFA item. Now, whether or not that would stand up in court, right? Because I think that we've got a different opinion and we've got argument as to why they're incorrect, but still somebody would have to go through a whole lot.
Yeah. Certainly
in order to
expensive.
get
But
there.
they once again contradict themselves because they then tell you that you have 120 days to register it. So we're going to start legal action after 60 days. Oh, but by the way, you have 120 days after it's signed to go ahead and register it.
So then when they say that, and we'll talk, I think episode 3 is probably where we'll get really into what exactly to do, because we've given people the general overview of what you're allowed to do last week. But ultimately, when you have people filling out these Form 1s and they're being kind and waiving the tax, which I'm not sure that they gain their authority for this particular law based on the taxing power. So I'm not sure how they're regulating something with with a no tax, when that's where the authority came from in the first place. That's a separate matter. They're asking you to Form 1 something to make something that they're saying is already an NFA item. So you're really not making anything, are you?
Well, you're constructively no, but administratively you're being given the authority to, ATF Form 1 is an application to make or register an NFA firearm. I mean, that's plain language. So they're giving you authorization to register a firearm that you've already made.
But I think that in the past, they've taken a different position on that, have they not? I believe
absolutely. The all up till this point, you make any type of NFA firearm, you get the registration first.
Right. 100%. What I'm saying is I believe that there was an instance, perhaps it was with solvent traps. Was there not an instance where everybody was in the position where they're looking to do these Form 1s and they said, no, you can't because you already had what is a silencer suppressor?
Yes. With the solvent traps, they were sold as a solvent trap, supposedly with ATF authority. And so people actually went and registered some, but other people hadn't registered them. And since ATF already defined it as a silencer, you can't register an NFA item that is not registered and it's already in existence. Just like if I make a machine gun today, I can't register a machine gun. Obviously 9220 applies, but silencer, short barrel rifle, destructive devices, anything of that nature, I have to get my authorization to make and register prior to making it. And solvent traps by ATF were defined as a silencer already.
Right. So people could potentially run into that position if they Form 1 this and they say, well, you had something that already was an NFA item. Form 1 is not the proper mechanism to do that. So all you millions of people denied. You're done.
Denied.
I mean, the way they've been flip-flopping on this, there's that possibility. They could come back 120 days from now and said, we changed our mind, or the Attorney General said we were wrong. I mean, that's simple. The Attorney General said we were wrong, or Treasury said, where's our money? We didn't give you authority to do that. You didn't collect money. None of these registrations are valid.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Now you have to pay up.
There are a lot of problems here, and that's why some people. So Cable Man F250 says, take the brace off, wait for the lawsuits and courts, then put it back on. Now, you got to be careful with where that brace is during that period of time.
Absolutely.
Correct, Rick?
Seems like the criminals are going to have access to quite a few more of them soon.
And they're going to be running and collecting them, I bet.
Right.
Yeah. No, they wouldn't do that. That's against the law. That's against the law.
Hey, you want a free brace? Yeah, don't use it.
All right, Russ, kick over to page number 5. Let's go to 7. Why not 7? So when we've got the definition of rifle, we talked about being fired from the shoulder. To wrap this up, I want to talk a little bit about what's here on 7 and 8. I know we talked a little bit about length of pull previously, but sort of an overview of what they're looking at. I know they've got all these factors that we'll get into next time because there's just too much to discuss, I think, in one one sitting. But you want to get into a little bit of this, Rick?
Absolutely. As you realize, the factoring criteria sheet is no longer valid, so they put that language into the regulation, which gives them a lot of subjectivity. And when you read this, you can hear the subjectivity in it. When a weapon provides surface area that allows the weapon to be fired from the shoulder, the following factors shall also be considered in determining whether the weapon is designed, made, and intended to be fired from the shoulder. Whether the weapon has a weight or length consistent with the weight or length of similar designed rifles. Well, I'll just throw in a little comment right here. Many of these handguns being imported to the United States are actually heavier than rifles being made in the United States. Whether the weapon has a length of pull measured from the center of the trigger to the center of the shoulder stock or other rearward accessory, component, or attachment, including an adjustable or telescoping attachment with the ability to lock into various positions along a buffer tube, receiver extension, or other attachment method that is consistent with similarly designed rifles. So what they're saying here, this is very convoluted the way they wrote this.
Oh, no, it made a lot of sense.
And here we go. This is the factoring criteria in the regulation. Whether the weapon is equipped with sights or scope with eye relief that require the weapon to be fired from the shoulder in order to be used as designed. Whether the surface area that allows the weapon to be fired from the shoulder is created by a buffer tube, receiver extension, or any other accessory component or the rearward attachment that is necessary for the cycle of operations. The manufacturer's direct and indirect marketing and promotional materials indicating the intended use of the weapon and information demonstrating the likely use of the weapon in the general community.
What the heck is that? How do you...
Could you repeat that, please?
The information in the community. Okay, we've got a new message, Rick, from Snowflake Snowflakington, who's a regular guest on this program. And Snowflake Snowflakington says, "Forget everything you just read. Rifles are black and shooty and scary, and no one should ever have them. If you like guns, you're a monster, and we can never be friends because you hate children. The infernal rifle service, the IRS, should be abolished and replaced with the Department of Kindness."
I like that.
I think this fits right in with the slideshow, if you ask me.
Nice we got to go through that slide. It's so convoluted.
Okay, people, back it up.
It's just bizarre. Now, I wrote points to the factoring criteria. And I put documented cases. This is the first one. Three little eyes is so stupid. I mean, whoever is listening to this and added these things to the factoring criteria for an ATF is born an idiot.
Ladies and gentlemen, the quote of the show:
the optical sights have been used on handguns. The red dot sight was developed and used on the handgun before it was ever used on a rifle. People have gotten into hunting with scopes, God, since the 70s.
Right.
Long range competition since the 70s, still matches. It was huge in the 70s and 80s. And they say that you only can use an extended eye relief scope on your gun. That's what this is saying. That if you have a regular rifle sight or scope and that you hold it with two hands and get the proper eye relief, you're still illegal, because that means you intend to shoot it from the shoulder. If I use a scope or sights on my gun, that is what that is saying.
So are you saying all handguns are illegal now?
A rifle type scope or rifle type sight, which everybody uses now because they've developed so far along. And look at the little Oscars and the EOTechs and all those things. Those are being mounted on pistols now. So even my Glock or my SIG, I intend to shoot it from the shoulder if I put a rifle sight on it. That's
crazy.
what that is saying.
That's crazy. Where do they come up with this stuff? Do you think? I know you said they're born an idiot, but do you really think that it's ignorance, or do you think that it's intentional? Do you think that they know that this is not true and this is just another thing they can throw in there that'll help them get their way?
There's a person, and won't mention his name, in the firearms technology branch who has made the comment that he could make anything submitted basically not pass.
Wow.
And they sit there and they don't realize they're supposedly gun guys. These are former Marines, former soldiers, former armed Navy, and they're supposedly gun guys. And they sit down with the attorneys and concoct these statements. And I'm sitting there thinking, are you really that stupid that you don't do any research and look at all the people hunting with rifles? I mean, sorry, once again, I called it a rifle. It's a handgun. Hunting with handguns for forever. And I don't like extended eye relief sights because they have such a narrow field of view. So a lot of people practice with rifle scopes and they get that perfect eye relief. That was one of the debates in the Kellen Wright case. He had an adjustable cheek rest. He didn't have an arm brace. And so they brought in a scope expert and talked about eye relief. And so when they put me on the stand, they asked me about eye relief. And I said, well, I'm really glad you brought this guy in here to explain eye relief because he's perfectly on point. So I pulled out the cheek piece and I put the cheek grease right against my cheek. And I said, look, I have perfect eye relief and there's nothing touching my shoulder. I said, I've been shooting rifles for, I don't even know how long. I'm a distinguished rifle shooter, which is the highest level of marksmanship in all the militaries. And I said, I know exactly where my eye relief is. I do not even have to adjust. I know where it is automatically. So I pulled out the little slide, the cheek rest, put it right there. I have perfect eye relief. So the way he explained eye relief was absolutely perfect. But I can use any optical sight on a handgun. It does not have to be a pistol sight. And so they're stretching this right here. And that statement is one of the worst ones and out of all this stuff that they put in there.
It's when you said that the comment was made by an unnamed person that with the way things are written right now, they can make it so anything that comes in, they can fail if they would like, right? They can put it into that banned category, or at least the NFA category. I don't want to say banned, but they could make it fit into that category. Do you think that that's potentially by design? Because that really puts all of the discretion in their court where, if they feel like prosecuting, that's always an option that's available to them. If they don't feel like it, they don't have to.
Well, things get submitted to ATF for just a wide variety of reasons. Is it a firearm? Is it an NFA firearm? Is it a pistol? And there's criteria and there's standard operating procedures, but there's a lot of subjectivity in there. And I can honestly say when I was there and the team that I had with me and prior to me, we tried to leave out subjectivity. We tried to follow the regulations, and if we couldn't get there, we would take it up to higher level of look, our attorneys. But now they take it directly to the attorneys, and the attorneys and them have too much of a say. And instead of trying to qualify something, their more intent is to disqualify something. And I'll give you a good example. Let's say I want to make a mock-up firearm, and I think I can turn this piece of metal into a dummy receiver, that it would take too much work for somebody to take that receiver and turn it into a real firearm. Well, I want to bring it in from overseas, so I got to submit it to ATF to make sure it's not a firearm. Well, they have taken really, really solid castings and called them firearms arbitrarily. And here's the problem. No one is making them spend the time to convert it into a firearm and demonstrate that they're actually able to do it. They just say, hey, it's our opinion that I could turn this into a firearm in less than an hour.
You could turn a toaster into a helicopter if you had enough money and time, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. So unfortunately, that's what the public and the firearms industry is dealing with today. You have a lot of subjectivity. You have a group of technicians who supposedly are pro-gun, but they're anti-qualifying anything for the industry. And so this is a type of idiocy that you come up with.
It's really, for a lot of people, I'm sure this is very scary. And I'm glad that you're taking the time to come on the program and share this stuff with our, at least we can be on the right side of the law. We fight this nonsense and try to straighten things out as best as we can. Some people do make good points about constitutional authority, and with as far as things have gone at this point, it might be extremely difficult to get them back on track. People have concerns about this administration. It's interesting because when the initial ruling came down on the stabilizing brace, that was during the Obama administration, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah.
And but see, it never went to the Attorney General's office.
Right.
It was
Gotcha.
approved in-house, inside, ATF authority, and everybody looked at it. It went all the way up to the assistant director. Assistant director met with SB Tactical and the disabled veteran, and they analyzed it. And they said, yeah, we're going to call it a brace. So they used common sense. Now it seems like Attorney General, his office, I won't say the Attorney General, but the AG office is reaching down into ATF and either directing ATF to do these things, or ATF is taking them ideas and they're doing them after they take them to the AG side.
So we've got another question that came in. I wanted to put this out here before we let you go. You've been so generous with your time tonight, Rick. Somebody was asking about the 88-day rule that's been swirling around out there. Do you want to touch on that at all, or do we want to save that?
I have to say I have no idea what he's talking about.
Okay.
What do you know what it is?
We've read quite a bit of that 200 and whatever pages. 88 days doesn't stand out to me. I know I'd seen a couple articles with that bouncing around, but we'll have to get back to our listener on that one. Enforcement Act. It says if it takes more than 88 days to be approved. Oh, that's actually.
Oh, I know what he's talking about. He's talking about if you don't get approved
what
within
happens
88 days.
when. Yeah, that's right. That's right. I remember that. I think one of the attorneys for Gun Owners of America brought that up at SHOT Show. Now that I'm thinking about it, that if you don't get approved in 88 days, that it gets kicked back. And so, because you've got 40 million of these that are supposedly going to roll in, there's no way they're going to get done with them in 88 days, and are they all going to get kicked back? And therefore, you don't end up getting your tax stamp, and you're in trouble.
Well, that's something that an attorney should write into ATF to get that clarified, because that's an automatic stop they can pull out of their system.
Right. Okay. Gotcha. All right. Well, what some person told this attorney at SHOT Show was that if that happened, that's when they'd begin enforcement. I don't know that person had the authority to say that, but ultimately.
Well, that's kind of scary, but I know we kind of got into the weeds, and I knew this would happen because there's so much other information to clarify this that you got to cover. But when you talk about it, enforcement action.
Did we lose Rick?
Oh, looks like we might have lost him.
Oh, the ATF got him. They're at his door.
I thought I saw somebody in the background
They're like,
Got
you
to
call
bonk
me
him
an
on the
idiot?
head, yeah, right, right. They just started their enforcement action,
Oh
apparently.
no, I think we got to drive over to
Yeah.
Rick's place. Quick, get in the car.
That's too bad. Yeah, let's go. Yeah,
All right.
what a convoluted mess.
Chris, I'm going to let you take over for just a minute here. I'm going to try to see if we can get Rick back on, okay?
Okay, all right, sounds good. Gosh, yeah, I'm trying to get over my headache.
Make
and my
sure you
aneurysm
answer
from-
everybody's real highly technical legal questions.
Yeah,
all right?
let's do that. I'll just for a few minutes. I mean, they're making up laws, so actually, at this point, I'm going to declare that the Constitution is back in effect, and everything shall not be infringed. So I think we're just going to go with that moving forward. So, new Philly Chris laws, Constitution over everything else. How's that? Sound good?
This is not legal advice.
Yes. Thank you, Liberty. Yeah, it should be. It's
Don't want you-
ridiculous.
Don't want you to wind up in the slammer.
I know. It's just insane, though. I'm sitting
No,
here.
it is.
That's why I was jumping in the comments a little bit. Great comments, by the way, everybody, and thanks for being here. But
What's your opinion on all this, Philly Chris?
I think it's nonsense. I mean, I just think it's disgusting, and there's no real point to it all. There's no evidence that I've ever seen, and as Rick was saying, to show that any of this is causing significant harm or crime or any of that. So again, it's just another really good example, in my opinion, of the far overreach of our government agencies. And I mean, imagine how much time and energy and tax dollars are literally being spent on this to once again infringe and limit the rights of law-abiding gun owners. I mean, it's insane,
Right.
and it's just crazy.
With Rick having the background, that was one of the questions I asked. But I was making sure I understood everything. I just wanted to kind of know, with him actually being in that setting, like what he can kind of infer, like his insight as to what their goal is with making these kinds of changes. Like, what is their goal?
Sure.
Is it safety?
Well, it can't be. There's no justification for that. I mean, there's no, I think when you look at this stuff, look at it, from a factual standpoint, use empirical data and, information that makes sense, which I don't think I'm wrong on that. I don't have any of these devices. It's not something I ever got into or whatever, but if somebody wants to own one of them for whatever reason or purpose, why not?
If somebody like Rick, who worked for this agency, is saying that this doesn't make any sense, then it's not going to make any sense to us.
I just think it's another, again, example of how, they're reaching, it's just an overreach once again. It doesn't make sense. And the justification that these agencies, all of them, use to give themselves more work, it's ridiculous. So they shouldn't be allowed to do these things. And Scott made a really good point earlier about, their constitutional ability to even make laws and all that stuff. I don't know if you want to get into that at all, Mike, tonight or next time or whatever. I love maybe, it's like, go ahead.
Yeah. Like Stack said, when you're talking about semantics and everything like that, they're not making a law. They're tasked by the legislature with making regulations, right? But they're enforcing the law, and in the process of enforcing the law, they've got to interpret the law in order to do so.
Yeah,
that's where you come up with this stuff. So, if you want to get hyper technical, we're not making the law. We're just telling you how we're going to enforce this ambiguous law. Now, that's partially a problem with Congress, right? Because it's Congress's job to write laws that are not vague and ambiguous, and that actually give you an idea of what the law is supposed to mean. But when they leave all these holes in there, then they can just modify it at any time with any administration.
Right.
So
I think for some reason my camera went out. I just used my laptop camera now.
Oh, you're on the air, Rick. We got you.
Welcome back. We thought
back in action. We thought the ATF got you. We were like, some guy showed up at his door. I was like, you call me an idiot?
You questioning our authority?
I want to talk about when they said it's an enforcement issue.
Yeah.
And generally what happens is an agent will get an issue that says, hey, this guy was denied, is bad 4473. And they don't jump in their car and get 10 people, dogs, and helicopters and come out to your house. They, of course, look and see who you are, and then they give you a phone call and say, look, you've just been denied. I'm going to come out and pick up this arm brace or whatever it may be. And then you say, whatever you want to say, you get angry or anything, and they'll come out and pick it up. It's not what people think that, like I said, they're going to show up there and beat your door down, unless they look you up and hey, this guy's been convicted of 5 felonies, robbed a bank, and stuff like that. Then they'll definitely proceed with caution.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm sure if they went that way, just because they're nice about it, there are people, doesn't mean people are going to be happy that they've done exactly what they were asked to do, and now it's being taken away anyhow, right?
That is correct. I would venture to say that majority of the people, citizens, follow the rules.
Wow. That puts us at a disadvantage in the realm of self-defense, doesn't it?
Well, I don't know if this is a self-defense issue, because we're not going to stand on the front porch and shoot somebody up for coming to take our arm brace.
No. What I'm saying is that is not at
We're
all.
not going.
Listen, I want to be very, 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 very clear. I'm talking about what I'm saying is that in terms of just the average law-abiding citizen who owns guns in general to protect himself and his family from the violent, vicious animals of human beings that are criminals, by complying, because we by nature comply with laws, we are at a disadvantage from those vicious, vile animal of human being criminals.
You're more right than you realize.
Okay.
I've taught a lot of different firearms training, and the bad guy always knows what he's going to do. You have to react to his actions. So when you come around a corner and he's got a handgun pointed at your face, and you have to pull your handgun out, you're 5 seconds to 30 seconds behind. And so we are absolutely disadvantaged for being law-abiding citizens.
And that's the problem. And a lot of these laws, these regulations, and these arbitrary sorts of things that make these politicians feel good, they only worsen that. They put us at an even further disadvantage. I had one instructor who came on, and I was talking about how people were being put at a disadvantage, and he said, the bottom line is that I'm not looking to be equal with the criminal. When someone breaks into my house, I don't want a fair fight. And I think that was a good point. So,
Definitely.
Rick, I think that we covered quite a bit today. You were very generous with your time. Unless you have anything else you want to add for this session, I'll get back with you. We'll talk about how we get back on here and finish this up so that we can.
This is a good place to stop.
Okay, so we could dissect some of the rest of what's going on, get deeper into this stuff. And I very, very thankful that you took the time to join us, Rick. Do you have anything else that you want to add?
If I can throw a little advertising out for myself.
Of course.
I work for the firearms industry. I defend you.
Oh, I think now, Rick, or the ATF muted you.
Rick, hang tight. Rick. If you can hear me, it says your mic is not connected and you've been muted. We definitely are being hacked by.
Yeah, something's going on, man. They're getting pretty good.
I think I am being hacked.
We're being hacked by the deep state right now, Rick. They don't like the truth that you're speaking.
Okay, can you hear me now?
We can hear you now. Yeah.
Okay, real quick. I run Rick Vasquez Firearms. I support the firearms industry and anybody who has an FFL. I'm defending many industry members in fights right now. and I run a compliance program. If you run a business and need assistance, please give me a call. Of course, I'll charge you, but that's the nature of the business.
Worth every penny, though.
And that is absolutely worth every penny. Because, Rick, if they don't hire you for compliance and they are not in compliance and they get caught breaking the law, they're going to have to pay me a whole lot more than they would have paid you, right?
We discussed that today. It may be expensive to stay in compliance, but it is a hell of a lot more expensive to get back into compliance.
That's right. That's right. Well, Rick, thank you so much. And I look forward to the next time we do this and doing trainings in the future.
I'm looking forward to coming up to Philly and meeting you guys.
That sounds great. Can't wait.
All right.
Thanks
Good night,
again,
guys.
Great
Good
seeing
night.
you again, Rick. Peace and love. Stay safe.
For those of us just tuning in, you're listening to Mike G in the Morning with The Law Matters, only on the Freedom Station, WFYL. Looks like we've got Walt from Houston checking in, asked if we were live. We want to welcome Walt for listening in on the program. It's been quite some time since I've seen that name flash across my screen. Give him a hey now, Philly Chris.
Hey now, Walt. Welcome.
Hey now.
Hey now.
We've got quite a few of the regulars checking in. Liberty, as I understand, you have something self-defense related that you wanted to present to our audience this episode. Is that true? We lost Liberty.
Oh, geez, man. They're coming for one of us next.
ATF got Liberty. ATF got Rick.
I'm sorry.
What about Russ?
Wait, somebody's at my door. Hold on.
Oh, no.
Oh.
Is Dr. Wilford Snakes Wilson?
Yeah, right.
That's funny.
Liberty might.
But I think that Liberty had something that she wanted to present to everybody. Russ, do you have access to what it is that Liberty wanted to present?
Oh, were you guys calling me? Sorry, my grandma called from the nursing home.
Oh, how is
no worries.
Grandma?
Hope she's all right.
She's doing all right. She's she's up and down. So when she calls, got to answer.
Prayers for Liberty's grandma.
Thank
Everybody
you.
sending prayers out for Liberty's grandma. Do you have something that you wanted to present to us?
Oh, yes. So something funny. Russ, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
ATF got Russ too.
So in the doc, there's an article that says under a terrorizing new animal for self-defense. And then I got to tell you guys the name I come up with for the animal. See if you approve.
Okay, hang on. Give me a sec. I wasn't ready for the doc.
In line with, it's not anything super special, but there's mongoose in a man purse. There's bag of bees. I mean, you name it. What else is there, guys?
Cobra in a can.
Cobra in a can.
Hornets in a hat.
Hornets in a hat.
That may be all. Bag of bees.
I got a new one for you. And it's for the more timid folks. It's kind of like starting with a 22 or a 9 rather than going right to a 40. Okay.
Those are numbers. What are you talking about?
Walt from Houston. Walt from Houston is asking me, Mike, what's your favorite cigar shop these days? I will not say, because I've had a couple approach me about potentially doing a sponsorship on the program. And until they pay, I'm not mentioning them on air. I will say that there are many very fine cigar shops in Pennsylvania. And it's really a great place to be.
You're giving away too much information, Mike.
I'm not. I'm saying that Pennsylvania is a good place. There are several places to buy good cigars in Pennsylvania that have excellent atmospheres and selections. So nobody will have any idea what is currently my favorite. I can list 5 off the top of my head. This is just a great place to be. And the reason is the government stays out just a little bit. And that's why so many fine cigar places are here in Pennsylvania as opposed to New Jersey or New York, where they get taxed through the nose.
So Mike, he actually asked, what's your favorite cigar, not what's your favorite cigar shop?
Oh,
I think I know
in the
what
corner over here. What's my favorite cigar?
We should all guess. Does anybody else want to guess what Mike's favorite cigar is?
What is my favorite cigar? Russ is over here. Yeah, Russ should know.
I don't remember.
He was just at my house holding the box earlier.
I don't remember the name. I
I think they were made out of rolled up hundreds, if I'm not mistaken.
They were not.
Just taking that lawyer money and smoking it, right, Mike?
He said they use it. It said Swisher Sweet.
Yeah, he got it. Swisher Sweets. That's what
That's really Chris' favorite.
I like the flavored ones every now and then.
Philly Chris likes the Padron Damasos, the light ones.
Yeah,
I like the Irish cream ones from CAO.
Oh, the Eileen's Dream, CAO.
Nice.
But Mike, what is your favorite? He does want to know. Let's give him.
Right link.
Right now, lately, it's been a tie. I did have an extra fancy one. I went to shoot with an instructor, not to shoot, to smoke with a firearms instructor just the other day. We ought to have him on the program. And it was a Padron Family Reserve, which is a special occasion cigar. I had one of those. But lately, it's been either the Padron 64 and Maduro or the La Flor Dominicana, the Double Lajero. Those are two excellent choices. Do not smoke the Double Lajero on an empty stomach, and probably shouldn't smoke it at all if you're a beginner.
What does Manny McMahon like? There's that one cigar that's like very rare.
It's
very Manny McMahon.
Likes the Opus X. The Opus X Angels Share. The Opus X Angels Share. I found a rare Opus X. I forget where I was. I won't mention it on air anyway, even if I did remember where it was. But I found a rare Opus X that I picked up. All right.
Oh yeah.
Anyhow, so that's what I'm smoking these days. Feel free to leave in the comments if you have any suggestions. Russ.
Okay, go to the video.
Let's see the video.
What, the stupid autoplay thing that
Oh my gosh.
Here we go.
Dear WGAL, you suck.
Always a comment from
Don't
Russ.
say that. That was my first ever television appearance was WGAL.
Oh, yeah, I remember this.
Well, they need to fix their website because it autoplays video. That's breaking the rules of the internet.
Breaking the rules.
Yeah. Is this right? I'm looking at what looks
Yes.
Gosh.
Reggie after the part in Turkey and Freebirds because we thought it was silly that it showed up right after Thanksgiving.
Reggie.
My cousin started calling her Gladys.
Or Gladys.
This turkey has literally taken over our life.
Is no longer welcome in the neighborhood. It's fearless of water and seemingly people too.
Somebody help me! Somebody help me!
Rachel Gross says she lives in fear.
This turkey attacks me every single day. Follows me. Oh my God. Goes up my stairs and tries to get in my house. When I leave in the car, follows me in my car.
The lone wild turkey has drawn blood, pecked at tires, and chased cars.
It gets on the back of my husband's truck and follows me. It rode to Chipotle with me one time.
The cats have to watch their back.
But I have to carry my broom and my water bottle and my golf club with me everywhere I go.
Emily Alston.
A broom, a water bottle, and a golf club.
My 1-year-old grandbaby just moved in with us, and I'm afraid to even take her outside, especially when the weather gets nice, we can't have people over. We can't have a barbecue.
The kids that walk to the bus stop every morning, I have to come out and help them. But now they're smart and they carry sticks.
Rachel and Emily say they've tried everything from contacting the wildlife experts at DNR to even calling 911 when this turkey wouldn't let Rachel leave her house for hours.
Can you please hurry up, police officers?
They've taken down bird feeders like the DNR suggested, but can't say the same for others. They don't want to harm the turkey, just want it to trot somewhere else.
It's not safe for anybody, including the turkey. So I would just like it to be relocated to a place where it can live with other turkeys and be happier, and it's not going to be a nuisance to people or potentially hurt somebody.
She's lonely and I feel bad, but why can't they just relocate this bird? Please?
Why can't you set a
in
trap?
Coon Rapids, Kirsten Mitchell, WCCO 4 News.
Why can't somebody else do
it? I didn't think that was a big deal, but when
what's the new product interesting though? Turkey in a tote bag.
Oh my gosh, you came up with it. I had to Google and synonyms of bag. And
I gotta say so. I don't know if I believe this woman though. Apparently, you can bring a whole film crew and stand out there for however long it took them to film this whole segment, and the thing didn't attack anybody once. So.
Oh my gosh! But listen, that is
yeah. But she had there was footage there of the turkey attacking.
Was there at the beginning or something? Maybe
they didn't want to whacking it with a club.
That's how the turkey gets away with it, is because when the people actually show up, she's like, this violent turkey, and the turkey's like, I don't know what she's talking about. I'm minding my own business.
I'm just over here minding my business.
Why are you harassing me?
So that's
this lady is nuts, officer. She does this all the time.
She invites me in her house and then she kicks me out.
Chris. You stinky audio stinking up.
Oh, is it bad again? I'm sorry.
So
guys.
we have to unleash the turkey in a tote. So that's what I came up with: was turkey in a tote, or there was turkey in a tent, turkey in a travel bag, or turkey in a carry-all. But we needed turkey in a tote. That finally came to me. So
turkey in a tote bag. Yeah.
Turkey in a tote bag. I love it.
I like it. Wow. There was a phrase that the athletic trainer in Oklahoma used to use for these types of situations. He'd say, a bullet only costs $1. I'm very surprised that nobody.
Yeah, I know some people who had turkeys, so I don't know if you're allowed to, like, in that.
I'm sure there's an issue with that, but I'm surprised nobody has covertly taken out the turkey.
Is it a male turkey or female?
I know some people who could make that turkey disappear.
Somebody's gonna eat that turkey.
So some people could make the turkey disappear.
Scott said the turkey lawyered up and shut up.
Sure did.
Yeah, apparently he did.
Dag Nabbit says, I disagree with the letter. They can have people over and have a barbecue, a turkey barbecue.
Yeah, there you go.
We're having turkey burgers. We're going green, boys.
Hey, where'd that turkey go?
You eating him.
So you guys have to make a theme song now, because like I said, it's the 22. It's like a beginner self-defense mechanism. I would break out the turkey before I'd break out a snake or a mongoose. Okay.
Oh, I don't know. That turkey looked pretty vicious.
Yeah, that's kind of true.
Can your kids not go to school? Not get into your car.
Are you scared? Are you scared?
The killer turkey.
Are you scared of going to the school bus because stranger danger? Get your turkey in a tote.
All right.
Some of those geese, those Canadian geese, get pretty aggressive sometimes.
Oh yeah, I've had them chase me before.
Mm-hmm.
They're from the non-French part of Canada.
Yeah, right.
So they don't just give up right away. They actually fight.
They're trying to enforce Trudeau's mask laws.
Did you guys watch the video, Philly, Chris, and Mike, of the lady who tried to save the animal on the side of the road? She realized it was a hawk, and its talons got stuck in her hand.
Yeah, I saw that. That was pretty crazy.
Gosh.
Jeez, oh man. She ended up changing her mind about caring for the thing.
Yeah.
I got this one. You want to fight that turkey? Get a coyote and a carry-on.
Oh, look, Dag Nabbit said the turkey took my homework.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no,
that one might.
Turkey can have like lots of uses here, so I don't know, I think it's a good one. Everybody needs a turkey in a tote. That's all I gotta say.
The turkey ate my lunch, so I made him pay for it.
Turkey in a tote.
Alrighty.
Mike has checked out.
I got another one.
What do you got?
It's a catch-all. It's like the Joker card in a deck of cards in almost any card game. All right, it beats everything. Nancy in a knapsack. She's done. She's done being the Speaker of the House. She'll petrify anything that she looks at.
I had one more funny link, but I don't know if you guys want to watch it.
Go ahead.
Break out your Nancy.
You do? You want to watch it? It's another kind of.
We haven't done a long show in a while.
It's kind of.
Throw it up there.
Russ will not like this.
Is it vertical?
It's not only vertical, but it's also TikTok.
No, I can't click on those.
Well, it'll usually just play.
Yeah, you can click on it.
Yeah,
no, it won't.
Just do it, Russ. Come on.
I put it in there. It's another funny one, but not with an animal. With
Just
actually
do it,
like
Ross.
it's just a funny one. I don't know.
This isn't a link. You're supposed to hit enter.
Just do it, man. Click on the link.
Please wait while we send all your information.
I'm always amazed they get these people to agree to be on TV.
Aggravated with a can of corn. That's the first you've heard, right, Mike?
With a can of corn.
Yeah, hi. I'm the producer of Cops. We just have a release we were hoping you could sign. We really like the footage about your whole can of corn incident. You mind signing down here?
I'm pretty
it won't hurt
sure
your case at all.
I would imagine when they hear the story, they're like, "Wait, can we film this?"
Yeah,
this is gold.
Can you imagine this?
Anytime I hear somebody with an alleged self-defense thing start talking about how big and strong they are and they can take care of themselves and everything,
sure.
It's like, I'm like, shut up,
right,
shut up.
Hey guys,
I don't know why people feel the need to say stuff like that.
Hey guys,
ego gets
Superman isn't that great. I can stop a speeding bullet too.
Yeah,
it only works once.
And then another story is that Joe Rogan had posted scientists warn eggs are causing thousands of people to suddenly form blood clots, and he made this big. He said this is either some black belt level trolling, et cetera, or it's just crazy. But if you go, they've put it out there that it's false. They've already put it out there. They've already debunked it. I'm like, wow, how fast they come out with that. You know what I mean?
Thank goodness they cleared that up.
I put in the. Did I put in the doc? I thought I put in the doc, but there was a fact checker immediately on that. So. I don't know, Chris, if you saw it, was he trying to relate that to the
zucchini?
The zucchini?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's just so many absurd things going on.
It's not eggs, it's zucchini.
But maybe it was somebody trolling. I don't know exactly who.
Yeah, I don't know, but if Joe Rogan, he has a lot of followers, so anyway, but they did debunk it. There it is. I must have put the link in there. Good. Russ put it up there.
But there's things like you pointed out, Mike, one time, like they're talking about the weather causing stuff.
Oh yeah, it's great. It's like I've heard everything.
Right.
Like they said, the climate change because there's a certain temperature at which human beings start to die suddenly.
Right.
Didn't you remember? Don't you know that people die in Arizona every single summer since the beginning of time?
Right.
They can't handle a hot summer in Maine,
Yeah,
but they've been handling summers in Arizona for us.
Depends on your GPS coordinates, apparently. Yeah,
people just die sudden. What else was it?
Some people have a very, very
I've heard
sense of temperature.
Exercise,
sleep, or something.
Vitamins, meat, everything. Like literally everything causes people to die suddenly. Except for zucchini.
Exactly.
Right. That's right.
Except zucchini. Right. It's like you mentioned zucchini. You raise your hand, like, excuse me, if all these things, then maybe wouldn't possibly, maybe perhaps the zucchini. They're like, shut up! No way. That's ridiculous.
That's safe and effective.
That's preposterous.
Yeah, safe and effective. Actually, as I was driving on the highway, I saw that zucchini mask, whatever. You know that sign. They have that song. I saw it on the turnpike. I'm like,
oh goodness.
Yep.
Everywhere you go.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
It's the
look who it is.
Hey.
Make sure you put on
old news.
We have a newscaster here just in time
Look at this.
for 2 week old news. We're gonna have to cut this episode up and get this one out here. This is
definitely.
We got 2 week old news back.
Love it.
How are you, John?
Pretty good.
And thank you so much for joining us. There's a lot of old 2 week old news out there. So why did you hit us?
Well, for starters, because of an avian flu, there's an egg shortage.
There's an egg shortage. Hey, get out of here.
Get out of town.
Get out of town. That's crazy. Yeah, well, since there's a shortage, can I get out there and buy some? Oh,
no, it'll be triple the price.
Yeah.
I'm 2 weeks late now, so maybe they're going to be all gone.
Better save up for when they go up, yeah.
Or maybe there's no longer a shortage because it's straightened itself out in 2 weeks. I don't know.
I'm going to start hoarding eggs.
Yeah.
There you go.
Time to own chickens.
What else we got?
Okay. A little bit bad news. Illinois becomes the 9th state to ban assault rifles.
Oh no! You heard it. So let me ask you this, Chris: is that 2-week-old news or news to you?
I heard something about it, but I don't remember.
How about
exactly
you, Liberty?
More
2-week-old news or news to you?
Banning what?
There's a quote unquote assault rifles ban in Illinois going around.
I didn't know specifically Illinois, but so I would say it's news to me, but that's always in the news, it seems.
What about you, Russ? 2-week-old news or news to you?
It's news to me. But wait, what?
News
so
what I've heard mostly about is that there were like a tremendous amount of sheriffs out there who have come out and said we are not enforcing this. Period.
Yeah, that's awesome.
A lot.
Yeah, that's good.
A lot.
Yes.
I want the number 80 comes to mind. I could be totally off. But there's a significant amount of sheriffs in Illinois who have come out and publicly stated not enforcing it. No, thank you.
Thank goodness for sheriffs, really.
My rifle has not assaulted anybody.
That's right. Yeah.
You sure?
At Dagnabbit says over 90 counties. So I wasn't off when I said 80.
Yeah.
So what about Chicago? Can they have them anyway or no?
I mean, just the criminals.
I feel, I know. I feel like Chicago, the people defending themselves and the criminals definitely need
That's
them.
where they go whenever they're banned in a state where they were allowed. They go
exactly.
Yeah.
It only applies to us law-abiding citizens.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, you remember Buddy Guy Smith who came on the show because you're speaking of Chicago. You remember Buddy Guy Smith who came on the
numbers
show
guy,
who wrote
right?
that book called Guns and Control?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's been on a couple of times. Absolutely fantastic at this stuff. He came out with a recent study that was just mind-blowing about, I forget exactly the way he phrased it, but the amount of people, individuals in this country who were responsible for a significant portion of the murders had to do with certain unusually violent gang members. I forget exactly the way he phrased it. I'm going to see if I could find the post.
Okay.
But he was talking about how a certain percentage of members are responsible for a significant percentage of the murders.
Would you say a certain percentage of what? It broke up a little. Gang members, you said?
It was a certain percentage of these gang members
are
gotcha. Responsible for a significant percentage of the murders. Let me read it right here because I was able to find the stat, and we should have him on to talk about this. He says, during a post-presentation Q&A last night, an audience member asked, what percentage of street gang members are the super killers? Because that's what his data calls these folks. He said, between 0.4 and 0.5% of street gang members and 0.001 to 0.002% of the U.S. gang bracket age population. A few police agencies, i.e. Oakland, California, have noted that a gang member perp jailed on a murder charge is the lead suspect in 2 other murders. Divided out with the number of suspected gang-related nexus homicides, this means these super killers total between 3,000 and 4,000 individuals. The 2012 estimate by the National Gang Center was that there were about 850,000 street gang members. If we assume gangs haven't grown since then, this divides out to our 0.4 to 0.5% of gang members. In 2019, there were 265,228,178 people aged 14 and older, which is street gang recruitment starts at 14. And this divides out to 0.001 to 0.002% of the eligible population. The key is that this small number of super killers are responsible for the bulk of street gang homicides, which account for roughly 85% of all gun homicides. Think about that.
Yeah, right.
Roughly 85% of all gun homicides are these gang-related homicides. He said these super killers are the single most important policy objective for gun violence. There you go.
And you never hear about that.
Stop this stuff. That's exactly where you got to get to get to the heart of the matter. It's crazy,
Yeah,
right?
but the gang members are law-abiding citizens, though, Mike.
Oh, that's right.
Are they?
Yeah, that's true.
But anyway, somebody mentioned Chicago, so I thought that I would bring that up. Well, that's what we associate Chicago with. No, not the Cubs, not the Bears, not the Bulls, not Michael Jordan.
Right.
That's Chicago gang violence.
Yeah.
That's it.
Unfortunately.
Chris.
I did go there once. And
you almost got into a fight, isn't that true?
The girls are pretty, I would say the girls are pretty comparable to Jersey girls. Put it that way.
Well, who ended up winning? Was it the Chicago girl or the Jersey girl?
No, we didn't end up fighting. She wanted to fight, quite frankly, and I was up for it. I said, "All right, let's go." It just never happened, and I think my coworkers thought I was absolutely crazy.
Liberty hardcore.
It was crazy. I did not expect it, but I just put it all on the line. I was like, "All right, let's go."
She thought she was tough. She was like, "Oh, I'm from Chicago."
I don't think she expected it. You know, she was.
You want to take it outside, and you're like, "Yeah,
Yes.
meet me outside."
Exactly.
So, John, I'm sorry to interrupt your 2-week-old news.
Good.
That was quite a hot one. The rifles. Somebody you said assault rifle because that's probably the headline that you're reading from. But people earlier in the episode didn't like the term high capacity magazine when Rick used it. I like to call them normal magazines. And so for assault rifles, we're just going to call them normal rifles.
Okay.
Is that okay?
That's okay. That
works.
All right, John. What else we got?
Here we go. House Judiciary Committee opens probe into Biden documents.
Oh.
And a Biden aide finds a second set of classified papers.
Oh no, they found another. It's almost sad that this is like how many documents ago at this point, because
Right.
they just keep finding more and more and more and more, right?
No,
it's making Trump look like an angel.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Can't make this stuff up.
It's wild. And then they found one with Pence.
Yeah, I heard something about it.
Somebody said that with Pence coming out and saying that he had the documents, it was like that scene in Billy Madison where Billy pretends to pee his pants so that his friend isn't embarrassed, and then everybody else starts doing it to try to look cool.
I was going to say it's like Spartacus moment, but I am
like, I got documents too. I'm cool.
Russ probably has some somewhere.
So do you think Bill Clinton and George Bush and Obama are going to come out and say, I also have documents?
I think the Babylon Bee put out a thing saying something like Hillary Clinton boasts that she didn't keep any documents when she was president.
Careful, Mike.
Yeah, I don't want to disappear.
And all I said is that they made the joke, and of course that joke was not funny at all. It wasn't funny. They shouldn't be saying stuff like that.
They should be not allowed on the internet.
What else we got, John?
We got Supreme Court to hear case of religious mailman claiming bias.
I'm
I'm
that
guessing
is news to me. That is news to me.
I haven't heard about that. No.
News to me.
I believe they made him work Sundays.
Okay.
I thought mail wasn't delivered on Sundays.
Well, they do packages. I know a couple of people that worked for a postal service. They do like the packages. Sometimes Amazon contracts with them too.
Oh. So we are learning a whole lot from this 2-week-old.
We
news
are.
story.
We are. Yeah.
So
New
what happened?
information.
He's sued, saying that they were making him violate his religion.
Yes.
Interesting. Huh.
Apparently, it's at the point of the Supreme Court.
Well, that's cool. That's something that I'd be interested to keep an eye on. Did it say what religion he was?
I did not see that, but
the one that doesn't want to work on Sunday. That's
right. Well, Jewish
he worships Sundays.
Sabbath is Saturday for Jewish people, isn't it?
Yeah.
Say that again,
Chris. Sabbath is Saturday for Jewish people?
It's called Shomer Shabbat.
Maybe Friday night, Shabbat, I think, is Fridays.
I think it's Saturdays.
Is it Saturday? I'm not sure. I don't know.
When you go to Beverly Hills,
keep the Sabbath.
They're all walking. All the Jewish people are walking on Saturday. I think it's Saturday.
They do that Friday.
Saturday.
Friday is the
that's
Shabbat.
in Lakewood, New Jersey, too. I've seen that.
I have lots more questions from reading the Bible. We'll get into that another time, though.
DG says that she heard about that one, and it is a Christian person.
Okay, that would make sense. But
it's a Sabbath.
I'm going to claim all 3 religions. That way I can have off Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Well, there you go. You might as well.
I'll be Muslim on Friday. I'll be Jewish on Saturday, and I'll be Christian on Sunday.
Right. There you go. Start your own church. Just change how you identify each day.
It's like that old George Carlin joke where he said that with Jewish people, he said with Jewish people, when they go to church, men have to wear a hat, women can't wear a hat. With Christians, men can't wear a hat, women should have to wear a hat. He said, so somebody's got this whole hat thing completely backwards.
Oh yeah, that's so weird.
All over the place.
That. I was listening to in scripture today about that, and it was like exactly that. It kind of confused me. It was like the men can't wear the hat because it covers their head, right? And the women have to. But then they said that's why we have long hair. We can't cut our hair because the hair acts as the veil. It was very confusing. And then I started thinking about in the Jewish religion, but they wear a yarmulke sometimes, right? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, men wear a hat, women don't wear a hat. And it's the opposite with Christians.
I wonder why that is,
women
though.
wear a hat, the men don't wear a hat.
Hmm.
Garland said somebody's got the whole hat thing completely backwards.
Somebody's got it right.
I'll designate
Or maybe
cowboy
not.
hat. As the
He said
hat.
he went on to say, and then they'll tell you that God is everywhere. So in that case, why would you even own a hat? It's interesting. That's one thing I'm not an expert on. Is the hat stuff.
No, me neither.
All right, John. Do you have any hat news? No.
I don't wear hats unless it's like super, super, super cold out.
Yeah. We'll have to get John a hat. For his next appearance, we're gonna get the hat. It's gonna be like an old-fashioned newscaster hat too. It's gonna
nice.
One of those old-fashioned reporter hats, like a private detective hat.
I was just thinking about that.
Oh, Inspector Gadget.
A Dick Tracy hat.
Inspector John.
Billy Chris is all set.
Yeah, I got hats. I wear
What
hats
else
more
we got,
often.
John?
I think that's it for right now.
Boo.
That wraps up for 2-week-old news.
That does.
Good stuff, John.
Loved it. We'll have to have you back sometime soon.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Unless anybody's got anything else to add, I'm going to close it out. Anything else for the good of the order?
Good.
I think we're good.
Yeah.
All right. John, thanks for joining us. Thank you. It was very refreshing to have 2-week-old news again. It's one of my favorite parts of the show. That's all the time we got for today. Stick around for We the People, the Constitution Matters. Pastor David Whitney, Professor Phil Duffy. I'll be joining as your legal analyst. We miss you, Ellie. Daddy loves you.